The Arrest of Christ, Kiss of Judas by Giotto di Bondone is one of the most famous frescoes to be found within the Scrovegni Chapel in Padua, Italy. Here we examine the religious theme as well as the painting itself. The betrayal by Judas occurs shortly after the Last Supper and involves him identifying Christ through an embrace. It is from this that the phrase of a Judas Kiss was born. Those seeking Jesus then arrest him and take Christ away for punishment. The facial expression of Judas is of a man who knows precisely what he was doing and gets a feeling of satisfaction for turning in his friend. It was the chief priests and elders who pursued Jesus whilst armed with swords and clubs. Their intentions were clear, as was the most likely result for their new prisoner. Giotto would take many religious themes into his work, which was entirely common for the period leading into the early Renaissance, and remained the case for several centuries after. Even the most respected artists would have to accept the wishes of their patrons, and therefore were guided on what work that could be produced in order to continue to receive the major commissions. The two key figures are pictured centrally within this painting. Christ's halo helps us to identify him, whilst Judas is wearing a cloak as he embraces his friend. A struggle appears to be about to occur as other figures in the scene start to jostle and wrestle with each other. Giotto includes a large number of people within the fresco, though only those in the foreground are given any real detail. Long-handed torches are lifted into the air as soldiers continue their search for Christ. Others protest about the arrest, and this causes quite a commotion to ensue. After Judas's act of betrayal, after indicating Jesus' identity to the army who surrounded them. The sky above is darkened, suggesting that they may have been searching for some time to find him, underlining his importance. The incident occurs in the Garden of Gethsemane, with Giotto depicting a nighttime scene. Interestingly, Jesus had earlier predicted his death and betrayal in the New Testament, but was unsure when or how exactly it would occur. Giotto depicts a scene of confrontation and emotion, placing yet more figures in the far background to give the impression of an overwhelming sense of inevitability around Christ's plight. His pain and suffering were redirected towards creating devotion and gratefulness within the Christian Church. The sense of this medieval lynching is underlined by the torchlights and sticks carried by the mob as they search for Jesus. There really is nowhere for him to escape. As Judas draws him into an embrace, Christ then becomes absorbed into his cloak. Their long glance at each other sums up the situation, with no words necessary. The deterioration of the frescoes within the chapel has revealed much about the specific techniques used by Giotto for this project. Auxiliary tempera was used in many parts, but would not cope well with some of the atmospheric conditions found within the chapel, particularly in the clothing detail on some of the figures. Some of their faces and limbs would fare better though, as they were created using one-off fresco techniques. Lime-based plaster was applied first before specific colours were added for the detail, all of which were known to work well within the base material. Hence, Giotto chose tones such as blue, copper green, red lead, lake red, for technical reasons rather than purely from the creative expression. Tin, gold resin and oil would then be applied over the top to embellish the key details of each fresco. Those who have also taken on this theme include Caravaggio along with his followers, plus also Fra Angelico, James Tissot, Gustave Doré and Wilhelm Marstrand. It is quite likely that many of these contributors would have studied the work of Giotto prior to making their own versions, particularly those based in Italy who may have been able to view his frescoes in person. The painting can today be found in the Scrovegni Chapel in Padua, Italy. It sits in the lower tier of the south wall, and its nearest neighbours include several other artworks by Giotto, including The Last Supper, The Washing of the Feet, Jesus before Caiaphas, and The Flagellation of Christ.